Hello everyone, I'm back again. I'm back because I can't just sit around and watch this election come nearer and not do anything. People really need to understand the truth here. Because I was watching an interview with Nigel Farage the other day, and he was talking about the prime ministers not standing up to the EU and all this load of stuff. And it's like, I like Nigel in general. He does talk common sense in some things, but where the politicians are concerned, he talks absolute bollocks. So I just want to clarify a few things. Right. Now, the first thing is prime ministers over the years, ever since Edward Heath, they do not represent the people. They are treasonous filth, and people need to understand this. Right, Edward Heath, right, he was the first. Right, he signed the documents taking Britain into the EEC in 1972, which he never got consent of Parliament and people to do it in the first place. So that was what made him guilty of treason. Margaret Thatcher, she signed the treaty of our laws. This was back in the 80s when our laws started to become corrupt and we had miscarriages of justice happening in our courts. That was because of her. She signed the treaty allowing that to happen. And, and then with John Major, who came next, he signed the treaty allowing the EU to control our money, our economy. So our money gets shared all over Europe. That's why there's never enough money in the country for our roads and our schools and the NHS and everything. It's because our money is subsidised in poorer countries around Europe. Like with pensions and stuff, they don't have enough money to pay their pensioners in their old age. So our country is subsidising that because of John Major signing the treaty allowing it to happen. And then you have Blair. Well, it really gets on my nerves the way people say, oh, Blair opened up the borders. No, he didn't open up the borders himself. He signed the treaty over to the EU, allowing them to open our borders. So, this is why we have mass immigration, because the EU control our borders, because he let them, not because he was too weak to stand up to them. He signed the treaty letting them. The same with our national security. When he got in the second time round, right, because he had 2 terms in office, he signed the treaty allowing the EU to control our national security. That's why we got involved in the Afghanistan war, because the EU said that we had to get involved. Right, but it wasn't Blair. I mean, he was only acting as their puppet, saying, that Saddam Hussein had massive weapons of mass destruction and all this sort of stuff. It was a load of rubbish. It was the EU who told him to say all that, because he was working for the EU. And, and it's the same with Gordon Brown. He signed the Lisbon Treaty. I mean, most people know about that because Ireland had a referendum about whether or not their Lisbon Treaty was going to be signed over or not. And, but we never got a referendum. He just did it. And, and then we found out that he'd done it the next day. And, so, I mean, that's what people need to understand. These prime ministers, they have signed treaties over to the EU, allowing the EU to control our country. It's not because they haven't stood up to them. It's because they've been working for them. I mean, with David Cameron saying, oh, well, I tried to sort out the immigration problem and all this sort of thing, but didn't get anywhere. He had no intention of getting anywhere because he was working for the EU anyway. And all these prime ministers, they're guilty of treason because they work for the EU. They do not work against the EU. All these public arguments they have with the EU, they're just fake. They're complete rubbish. They're just a cover story for them actually working for the EU in the first place. And people need to understand this. The Conservatives, Labour and Liberal Democrats do not represent us. And we have got to stop voting for these tossers. We really need to wake up, and understand these people do not represent us. The people we need in Parliament UKIP, I mean, not that I agree with all of UKIP's policies, but they are the best party that actually want to help us, not just the British people, they want to help everyone, who's actually in Britain. So, I mean, they are the best party that's closest to us, that want to get things sorted out. And we also need to vote independents, because they are the people that really, really want to get the country sorted out. Well and truly. I mean, they're the ones that want to bring back the Bradbury Pound. I had a word with a UKIP member the other day about bringing back the Bradbury Pound. And she said, well, I will pass on the message to Paul Nuttall, but whether she did or not, I don't know. Or, if someone did pass the message on to him, what he actually said about it, I don't know. I haven't heard back, obviously. I hope to hear back. I will ring them again at some point and ask them how they got on. But my point is, please don't vote Conservative, Labour and Liberal Democrats in this next election. Vote UKIP and Independents. We have really got to get these tossers out of Parliament, because they are liars. They say, oh yes, we try our best to stand up to the EU. They do not, because they work for the EU. And the sooner people understand this, the sooner we can stop voting for these criminals. Because I don't think Britain is going to cope with another 5 years of either Conservative or Labour in Parliament, because they will not help the country. They are going to carry on with the mass immigration. They are going to just they carry on with the EU project. I mean, Brighton are losing 4 of their doctors' surgeries, and our bank actually, and NatWest Bank is closing in Daventry. So that's another business gone. All these businesses and doctor surgeries and that, they're still going to keep closing. It's all to cause more mayhem in Britain. And the sooner people understand, we've got to get these tossers out of Westminster, then that's the only way that's going to save the country. So please, just check out the videos that I said. I've said in my previous videos, check out a video of David Noakes on Edge Media TV that's on YouTube. I watch his interview. He explains everything far better than I can, and just check this stuff out for yourself. www.eutruth.org.uk. That is another website. The UK column people. That if you watch their interview, they do lots of news reports on YouTube. And so UK column and the British Constitution Group, if you check out their videos on YouTube as well, they explain a lot as well. So just honestly, just check these videos out that I'm asking you to check out, and go to the websites and just just sort your heads out, please, everyone. Just do not vote these twats back in Westminster, because they are going to ruin the country. So, anyway, I'm going now. Okay, bye.